we can be a co-creator or we can go to the destruction of our co-creation. And to get really clear and understanding who's in charge, we have to step into the law of resonance and how it affects us on an individual level, on a personal level, and a familiar level, meaning family. So when we enter this world, we resonate with patterns. They're oftentimes contractual agreements. And these are also subconscious beliefs and behaviors that we inherit from cycles and cycles prior. And it is interconnected into this morphogenetic field, influencing how we live our lives, how we're present, how we create our reality through these mirror neurons. And when we witness healing and expansion in others, it triggers that similar response in our own brain and in our own body. Now, the same is true when we witness suffering or trauma. When the energy, as such as this weekend, we're glued to the TV, we're glued to the media. And this is how the news functions. It immerses us all in the spell of tell, lie, vision. It's an emotional state. But we can really choose to live in that same principle for our own benefit by consciously focusing on pausing before we react to choose to respond. It's really a matter of how we can activate our mirror neurons to catalyze our transformation. And this is why creating this warm evolutionary ecosystem with others that have the same desire and our values is so important, as well in our family systems. So as one member begins to heal in the family or friends or colleagues in work, it triggers this morphogenetic field and network of connection. The other piece here is to approach this process without judgment. Because when we feel the pain of others, it is an invitation to alchemize that energy. And we get entangled in it. So by holding a non-judgmental space, we really allow that deeper information and pattern to emerge. And that is what facilitates the transformation. It's the moment that you feel somebody's energy, if you're holding space for them, is the moment you break holding that sacred space. You take on their density as the law of resonance in this universal principle that connects all of us. So when we're holding space, we're creating an invitation of non-judgmental observation, where we don't label emotions good or bad. It's not black or white, but when we hold space for others, especially in a time in our world today, we have to remove the judgment. And this is what really allows the healing frequencies to integrate into our bodies. It's based on the observation of the energetic signature that transforms the signature by being a witness. So by practicing non-judgment presence, we can really unlock our own healing and contribute this to the collective healing of our communities, our families, and the world. So I wanted to share the importance of non-judgmentalism as we move into the weeks ahead. Holding space for others is something I believe that we can start practicing every day in our life. And when we understand the law of resonance and mirror neurons, we can look at the obvious, the tell, lie, vision, right? It's a spell. So tell, lie, vision. This is a mirror neuron. You and I are in a mirror neuron experience right now. So the more that we can remove our judgment when we are having a conversation with someone, create the pause of the respond versus react, you start to create a morphogenetic field that in the moment, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, etc., that morphogenetic field is connected to all the past lifetimes, timelines that affects the current and the future timeline. This is how we're creating a new earth. And so much of this story is going to be the progression of what is ahead, is the messaging system from the top of the light. I call it the prism of light. It's where I go vertical in my psychic readings. It's instant truth and it's instant light that you cannot deny. Where horizontal, that prism, as far as the intuitive world, is your familiar background, it's your environment, it's your DNA, it's all of these different things that you pull in as far as what's around you horizontally. It's a sensory system. I wanted to send just a message of love and a message of hope that when you're creating a new world, those that have protected it, whether it's the galactics or it's quote unquote the white hats, we've had to get far enough along to create that new world in order to trigger the next world. Because there's enough of a grassroots that has been created that has the intel of the information that's underneath, that when this then comes out in the public, there is nowhere else to turn. So those that have created the old world, the darkness, the deceit, the capitalism, which is not capitalism, the entire infrastructure of control of information, monetary, you name it. We're at a point where that system, we're still at a spiritual war. You have free will. And those of you that are alive today have a high calling. And that high calling is to understand the power of the law of transference, just energy, and the mirror neurons. So when we are in familiar contracts, meaning family contracts, it's important that we understand that we are literally in a simulation. So when we can remove the judgment, create the space in the simulation that allows us to respond versus react, and understand that we are in a morphogenetic field. And so we can take control back of how we support, how we love, how we respond in a time as we move forward in this spiritual war, we literally continue to create the morphogenetic light of what reality we want to live in this world. So it is calling to you to step into responsibility of your own mirror neuron, that you're aware, you're stepping into a life of awareness. How am I reflecting to someone? Because I'm either co-creating or I am not creating and I am in destruction. Chaos always comes into order. So that's the good news. But are you going to co-create with chaos? You don't have to go thousands of years in fixing yourself. For me, this week, I called upon a spiritual healer that does psychic surgery to go into the many, many, many timelines to pull all of that density out, because I know my next calling and I need all that density gone. We can do that with each other. And then there's deeper levels for those that sense a higher calling. It's all mirror neurons. It's correcting the mirror neurons that were created in other timelines. And it's also being present to make sure that you're not repeating them now that you have awareness. So as we move forward in this spiritual war, understand that the world that was created has now been uncreated enough to get us to this point, as my fellow Americans' message came out. Where we move forward is going to be chaotic, but it's going to be chaos out of order. And our responsibility is to stand in a non-power over structure and a non-power under structure, where we stand in a power within, meaning I'm going to stand in my power and I'm going to allow you to stand in your power. And that's what we're being called to right now. So sending you all my love. If you need support, reach out. There is a 30-minute reading. We can hop on the phone and I do a holographic mapping of what's going on in your emotional circuits. We go ahead and we take a look at what is your core issue or core problem or core question or core clarity, so that we can bring clarity into the field, release the density, and understand the sacred unconscious contracts so you can feel lighter, move quickly, and be confident in this next phase. And then you also can do a 1 email reading, which is quick to the point and super, super beneficial for those on the move that don't have a ton of time. So all my love, all my light. Thanks for joining me live. If you have any questions, reach out. But just remember, as you move forward, you are a mirror neuron, and you are creating a morphogenetic field around you. So here to encourage you all. And if you have any needs, just reach out and I would love to serve you in a holographic reading. All right, that's it, my friend.